Today, we are afraid of being exposed to too much radiation when we are x-rayed or when we have to go through TSA body scanners. We are sure to keep ourselves away from as much radiation as possible, because if not, we can get sick. The public had the opposite idea only 100 years ago. It was the turn of the century and the dawn of the Flapper Girls. It was the time for women, for now they could vote and work. People could live in comfort for less money than ever before, thanks to revolutionary inventions such as the automobile and the light bulb. This is the haunting tale of the Radium Girls, illuminating the deadly glow of the Undark Corporation. A documentary to reveal how they took a stand against juristic bureaucracy, red tape. On December 2, 1898, Marie Curie isolated the element radium. Almost overnight, the world was in a radium fever. Doctors claimed radium could cure skin cancer. Only the best water had radium, and even makeup used radium. It was truly the miracle element. But this element would soon be the fall and the cause of much heartache. During World War I, pocket watches were popular. All men carried them, including soldiers. However, these watches proved to be a problem for soldiers in trenches at night, for it was impossible to discern the time. U.S. Radium, on contract with the government, solved this problem. In 1917, U.S. Radium opened a factory at Orange, New Jersey, employing young women between the ages of 15 and 25 to paint watch dials. Jobs at the company were in high demand because of its comparatively high wages. U.S. Radium used to paint Undark on everything from clock dials to ammunition cases. The women employed at U.S. Radium came into close contact with this paint daily, and the radium in it. They painted with camel hair paintbrushes and had to lick the paintbrush into a fine point after every 3 or 4 strokes. They did not realize how deadly this simple action would come to be. Most girls did not stay at U.S. Radium for longer than 2 years. 2 years after leaving the company, Grace Fryer, one of the infamous dial painters, began having inexplicable toothaches. Then her teeth started to fall out. Miss Fryer went to the dentist, who could not find any reasons for her symptoms. He decided to x-ray her teeth and found that her jaw was honeycombed with holes. Her mouth looked moth-eaten. It soon became clear that this was not an isolated event. Women from all over Orange, New Jersey began to have similar symptoms as well as severe anemia and debilitating joint pain. But nobody knew why. Not until Dr. Theodore Bloom, a dentist in New York, discovered the connection between the women. He noticed all of the women with these symptoms had worked closely with radium, as radium dial painters at the U.S. Radium factory. He coined the disease radium jaw, describing the deterioration of their jaw, and believed it to be because of the radium used in Undark's paint. He first publicized his findings in the Journal of the American Dental Association, publicizing the disease and unveiling that it was a result of the working conditions. Upon hearing this news, Miss Fryer decided to sue U.S. Radium. This was in 1925, and it would take Grace Fryer 2 years to find a lawyer who would go up against the radium giant. After all, they held much power through their massive amounts of money, resulting in many being fearful of battling the corporation. However, before the trial would be held, Miss Fryer was examined by a specialist, Dr. Frederick Flynn, and his colleague. He told her that, in his expert opinion, she was perfectly fine. Not only that, but any symptoms she had were not due to U.S. Radium. Of course, Miss Fryer did not believe them. It was a good thing, too, because Dr. Flynn was not a licensed physician, but in fact, a toxicologist hired to falsify a report in favor of U.S. Radium, and his colleague was the vice president of the company. This was one of many ruses U.S. Radium would exploit in order to try and cover up their Radium Girls. As more and more girls began to claim that their sickness was due to working conditions at U.S. Radium, the giant began to discredit and ruin the reputations of the girls by paying off doctors to say they had diseases such as syphilis. U.S. Radium flexed its power to scare the girls into hiding and to sweep the horrors of their working conditions under the rug. This was not the first time they tried to cover up their workers or their conditions. Early in 1920, before Fryer was hired by U.S. Radium, The corporation hired Dr. Cecil Drinker to inspect its working conditions. He found that all of the workers worked too closely with radium. He reported that dust samples collected in the workroom from various locations and from chairs not used by the workers were all luminous in the dark room. Their hair, faces, hands, arms, necks, the dresses, the underclothes, and even the corsets of the dial painters were luminous. One of the girls showed luminous spots on her legs and thighs. The back of another was luminous, almost to the waist. This report was supposed to go straight to the New Jersey legislature. However, when this report did reach legislation, it had been changed by U.S. Radium so that it said all the workers worked in good conditions and were in no danger whatsoever. Even before knowing the full extent of their actions, U.S. Radium was out to make money, even at the cost of their workers' health. But this cover-up would not go unnoticed forever. Alice Hamilton, a Harvard professor, discovered this discrepancy and reported it to Dr. Drinker. Dr. Drinker immediately wrote to Walter Lippmann about the Radium Girls and their case in order to show U.S. Radium they could not cover up their conditions or health hazards. Lippmann championed them as victims from the workplace. This pushed them into the media spotlight and caused the public to become outraged at U.S. Radium. Then came the infamous Radium Girls trial. The year is 1927. It is January and the Radium Girls make their first appearance in court. There are now 5 more girls crusading their cause of workers' rights: Edna Hussman, Albina Larice, Quinta McDonald, and Catherine Schwab. They had also found a lawyer to take their case, the up-and-coming Raymond Berry. Their initial hearing was good for the Radium Girls. The court agreed to see them in an official court trial. However, this was set for late in the year due to U.S. Radium employees having a summer vacation to Europe planned. The 5 women, knowing their days were numbered and they would not live until November, worked with Berry and the court to move the hearing to July. However, days before the trial, U.S. Radium met with Raymond Berry and the Radium Girls. The girls believed that they would die by the time the trials were over, so they took U.S. Radium's offer of $10,000 each, $600 a year for the rest of their lives, and all medical expenses paid. The Radium Girls, with assistance from crucial key figures, took a stand against U.S. Radium's corporate cover-up by exposing the dangers of the radioactive element radium to workers, resulting in the creation of Standards Compliance Regulations, now OSHA, the strengthening of the Food and Drug Administration, and development of workplace safety standards. Today, we have steep regulations against radiation and the exposure of workers to the toxic elements. Following the exposure of the cover-up, the FDA was strengthened, and the Standards Compliance Regulation, now OSHA, was established because of the need to decrease occupational hazards. In the 1980s, the U.S. Radium factory in Orange, New Jersey was declared a Superfund site by the Environmental Protection Agency. This meant it was unsafe to be around or to remove hazardous waste from. Today, it stands as a lone testament of the horrors witnessed in the midst of the Roaring Twenties, the horror of unsafe workplaces and of a company's want to profit at the cost of their workers' lives.
I think the Radium Girls and that whole story was one of the big landmark trials and settlements that really changed the workplace in America, along with the things that were happening in I believe it was Tuskegee, where they were doing some syphilis experiments, and there have been some U.S. military has done some experiments from time to time on unwitting volunteers that really didn't think they were being harmed, but they really were. So there have been other instances through history where innocent people were exposed to harmful things. But this one was very public and very publicized, and may have started the big ball rolling as far as workplace safety goes. You know, it was actually definitely a big piece of it.